Public art reaches beyond the confines of galleries and museums to engage more people in different ways, even expand opportunities and creative impulse for the artists themselves. One example is a series of murals supported by the arts nonprofit Now and There and Greater Grove Hall Main Streets. The next installment of the Mentoring Murals project will be a collaboration between our guests, artist and photographer London Parker-McWhorter, and an illustrator, designer, and community arts mobilizer, Ekua Holmes. I'd like to thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
I want to start with Ekua Holmes because this is not like the two of you were just thrown together and you're going to start from square one here. You and London have been working together. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on with that artistic relationship.
Well, since the beginning of the Roxbury Sunflower Project, I've been working with London and his mom, Lolita Parker Jr., through the United Neighbors of Lower Roxbury Community Garden. They were actually my angels that came. I had never grown anything, and they came along and brought seedlings and knowledge and care and love to the project from the very early days. So it's a privilege to extend that relationship into an artistic, visually artistic practice this year.
Well, I want to ask you about your background because your involvement in gardening is of interest to me here because that's also inherent in this project. My memory of this, going back to the bad days of the 1970s, you had all these vacant lots where things had been destroyed or where people outside the neighborhood were dumping things. And then you have these gardens that take shape and they're created by people in the neighborhood. How does that figure in what you're working on here?
That's right. It's been really, I guess, inspiring to see folks take over spaces that have been abandoned or neglected for, again, as you're saying, since the 70s, some 50 years running, to create something of beauty, something of surprise, something of wonder. So it's a slightly different art project than the mural that we've collaborated on here, but the Sunflower Project has been great to kind of just change the way folks interact and can imagine these spaces that have for so long been an eyesore and turn that around to be something that's a place of growth, inspiration, and hopefully success in the future.
I just wanted to add that so many cultures that are represented in Roxbury Dorchester, this is part of their tradition to grow food, to grow flowers, and they bring these traditions here from the Caribbean, from the Dominican Republic, from Africa. So this is to be able to grow together and to be in the garden together is another way of building a really, really strong, powerful community.
I would even say, I've heard people explain to me what they're doing when they're gardening. They talk about the quality of the soil, what they have to do to make what they're growing come out right. I mean, there's an enormous amount of pride and imagination going on there, isn't there?
Absolutely. One of the texts that we looked at was In Search of Our Mother's Gardens by Alice Walker. And she talks about how her mother pushed against poverty with these gardens that she grew. And I think that that can also be true today. It's a way of expressing ourselves creatively. Even on a shoestring budget, you can create such great beauty with seeds, a little nurturing, a little love and care.
Speaking to the quality of the soil and some of the abandonment issues that we've had, one thing that I've loved that Ekua keeps celebrating is that the sunflower is an actual plant that can draw toxins out of the soil. It's one of the symbols of nuclear disarmament, because if you plant a field of sunflowers where there used to be nuclear waste, it can draw some of those radioactive elements out of the soil and start making that a little more habitable for human interaction.
Linda, there aren't as many vacant lots along Blue Hill Avenue as there were a few decades ago, but what about this lot? It's next to a laundromat, and otherwise it would look nondescript, but what about the significance of this location?
Looking at some of the history of this area in particular, it was really striking to me hearing some oral histories. I was working with my mother, Lolita Parker Jr., on a project called the Lower Roxbury Black History Project, where we interviewed a lot of elders about Lower Roxbury. This is a little further from Lower Roxbury, but it was interesting to hear that Blue Hill once was a thriving shopping district. You could get everything you needed there. You can get appliances, you could get all your food, you could get your clothes. That changed with a lot of the capital flight and the money that left in the 60s and the 50s. And then as a result of especially the 1967 uprising and riots in June, there had been a lot of denial of services to residents of the newer residents, Black and Caribbean and Hispanic immigrants coming to Blue Hill Lab. And because there were so many burnt buildings, they were never rebuilt in this area. So it was really interesting to see that this is the legacy of, honestly, some neglect. But this is a chance to kind of reimagine again those spaces where there aren't as many empty lots. There are a lot of projects right now with the city, especially trying to push forward a vision for this neighborhood. But as a young person, this is all before my time, to see the legacy of something that happened, 20 years before I was born, is pretty striking to see. It still exists today in 2021 and 22.
Ekua, gardens are about recovery and even sort of cohesion in a neighborhood. How is that reflected in what you've been doing with the Sunflower Project?
I think originally I envisioned this sunflower as a symbol for Roxbury because it has such tremendous attributes. The one that London mentioned, drawing toxins from a soil and making it more habitable. But there's also the multiplicity of seeds that every sunflower produces. There's the incredible resilience of sunflowers. They're able to grow on just about any type of soil. They're very deeply rooted. They will go down 50 feet to find nurturing so that they can continue. And they just have I call it a power flower, because it has so many great attributes that to me reflect what the Roxbury neighborhood has been about all of these years, pushing against obstacles, overcoming, thriving, and sending people like me into the future. So I see the work that we're doing now as another generation of planting seeds for the next generation of artists, musicians, doctors, lawyers. The manifestation of the seeds of yesterday are where we're standing right here today. This conversation that we're having was planted sometime in the past.
London, when this next installment goes up on September 8th, think about this like a photographer. You're standing there in that lot. The sunflowers are up. The new mural is up. I can imagine the colors in the mural are sort of reverberating with the colors of the sunflowers. What do you see?
I'm looking forward to this is also the time of the year where the light has changed. It becomes dusk a little earlier. So, hopefully if the weather is cooperative, we'll have something that complements both the sky and the ground. And, hopefully some of the multiplicities of complexion that we can celebrate here in Roxbury and Boston.
Yeah. Ekua, what about the people involved? Because you didn't get all these sunflowers sprout on your own. You got a lot of people helping. So what's the next installment of that going to be like next week?
Well, I would just say this is a community project. It's not my project, it's Roxbury's project. And so every year we give out 10 to 20,000 free sunflower seeds to anybody who's got a little piece of land in the sun that they want to grow something beautiful. So all of those neighbors have a piece of this project and hopefully will come out to see the mural as well, because it represents their efforts and their dreams for this community.
One other thing I can't avoid plugging here is that the things that are in the community sometimes come to roost at the museum. Your sunflowers or the community's sunflowers, tell us a little bit about that, because I noticed them right away going by on Huntington Avenue.
Oh, so good to hear. So good to hear. Well, the Museum of Fine Arts is in Roxbury. Roxbury's had its borders changed many times for political reasons, but this year we were invited to plant on the lawn of the MFA and sort of interrupt that pristine green lawn that says to people, don't walk on me. Instead, we planted an invitation. Yes, please come and join us in the Sunflower Garden, as well as Elizabeth Perry's project, Radiant, Raven Reshapes Boston. So this is a new look for the MFA, and we're just happy to re-embrace the MFA as part of Roxbury, part of the Roxbury Sunflower Project. And it's brought a lot of joy to Huntington Avenue. We're getting great commentary. People are taking selfies and uploading them. And that's what we wanted, joy in community.
London, what about this mentoring experience for you? Because this is not just about two artists, because as Ekua indicated, there are a whole lot of other people that are involved in a way. What has that done for you?
Absolutely. It's always a conversation, and I'm really lucky to be working with somebody who's so incredible. I really love Ekua's work, prior to this project, and seeing like the wisdom that she brings to everything, like the patience, the joy, and then like the forward-looking. Just always, it's been really great to work with. And it's funny too, as a person who's receiving all of this, I find myself like just naturally you want to share this with other folks. And so it's been great to have some of these other folks who are from the public come in, and I can kind of, you know, share some of that same energy that I've captured from Ekua and hopefully inspire someone else as well too.
Finally, Ekua, we should let our viewers know about the event. So if they want to join in some way, what's the best way to be there, or at least get more details?
Well, September 8th is the unveiling of these 3 murals that London and I put together. And I just want to also say that working with London, it hasn't been like mentor protege. It's been like mentor to mentor, because I've learned so much from him as well. But the event is from 4 to 6 on Wednesday, September 8th. And I believe Now and There, who is the producer of the mentoring murals and also the original funder for the Roxbury Sunflower Project, will be offering free food. We're going to have some hands-on art making activities, and then just the joy of being together outside after a year and a half of pandemic and being sort of stuck in the house. So we hope people will come out. There'll be music, there'll be celebration, and London and I will be, you know, sharing a few words with the public. So we hope that people will come out and join us.
Well, I thank you both very much for taking the time to be with us. London, Parker-McWhorter, and Ekua Holmes.